Join me for an average morning running my natural track livery or paddock paradise. We currently have 20 horses on site, all on full or part livery. I currently have 2 members of staff, 1 full-time and 1 part-time, and I rely on my husband to help me with all the maintenance jobs at the weekend. I also run a track consultancy business where I help other people set up their tracks alongside. I currently live on site in a static caravan, which means I can see the horses out my window. We're currently in the process of doing a barn conversion this year, which is very exciting. I never eat before the horses do, so I make a Greek yogurt with chia seeds that I leave to soak overnight, and then I add fruit and seeds to it in the morning and take it out with me. First I have to get out the quad bike, and on my way down to the yard I have to stop and let out our lovely ducks. We have a cross between Indian runners and khaki Campbells, and they get shut in overnight so that they don't get taken by any predators, but they're always very, very keen to get out in the morning, and I cannot pass without letting them out first. They always greet me with lots and lots of quacking very excitedly, which is quite cute. Ducks released, it's now back on the quad bike to continue the drive down to where the yard is. I pass by our alpacas on the right. We used to breed alpacas and do alpaca trekking, so we had around 30 to 40 at a time on site, but now we've just got 8 of our old retired girls left, and some of the ones that we bred and bottle fed that we were too attached to, so will stay with us for life. And the gate that I am coming up to now is the entrance to where Abbotts livery is. Love arriving in the morning. The horses are never stressed. They always come up to the top of the barn because they know around when the sun is up that they're going to get their breakfast, so they tend to congregate up the top, but there's no stress behaviours, no pawing, neighing, pacing, weaving, etc. They've still got free choice to do as they please until I get there, and they have ad lib hay, so they're not hungry. I always go straight into the barn and check that all are present and correct. Cracker and Arrow are having a lion, which was very cute. It's around 7 a.m. at the point of filming, so quite early, but not as early as we start sometimes when it's hot in the summer. And then coming into this side, this is Oscar, who's our only boy in with the mixed herd at the minute.
Hi.
Shirley on the right, little Saffy the Shetland, Pepper in the background, and the rest of the mares are all sharing the bale. Apache comes in for extra hay time as soon as I get here. Yeah, don't you? Let me check the gate. Lovely circle. He's a big guy and he's quite low down in the herd. And he's quite a stressy, anxious guy, and he's prone to ulcers, so we just want to make sure that he gets enough grub. So you come in here, don't you? Twice a day. A bit easier, ain't it? My head groom, Flynn, arrives around 8 a.m, but doesn't actually start work until 8:30, but she always likes to spend time with her horse without fail at the start of her morning, which is really, really lovely. Nino, the Arab, suddenly thought that he'd missed breakfast, so came cantering in off the track at 100 miles an hour, but I had to explain to him that I hadn't actually made it yet, and he hadn't missed out. That was very fast. I haven't made your breakfast yet. Sorry. All of our horses at AVL have a feed because we believe it's really, really important that horses don't miss out on essential vitamins and minerals, especially as our horses are on a mainly hay diet and a lot of vitamins and minerals can be lost in the hay making process. So these are all the feeds that I'd been soaking overnight, and then every single horse has a made up feed in a bag that we make up 2 weeks at a time. So then it's just a case of adding in the named bags into the named buckets, and adding in any supplements or medications fresh on the day. I find this the best way to hide tablets, especially Presend for horses that have Cushing's. So I hollow out a little bit of carrot, pop the tablet in, and then pop the bits that I hollowed out back in and pop it right on the top of the feed. It also means that they normally go straight for that first, which means I know they've eaten it. Then we're on to the most dangerous part of my day, which is carrying 20 horses worth of feeds down the stairs. They weigh an absolute ton, even when I split them into 2 piles. And now it's time to feed the herd. So we section each horse off into their own individual area, making temporary pens out of electric rope that we just pull across. The 3 horses in the barn that are tied up are, one is my horse Buck and the other are the 2 Highlands that cannot be trusted with the electric string because they would just break through it and eat everyone else's breakfast. So they are tied up in the barn and everyone else is in their own individual area. I find that this creates massive peace of mind for each horse. I know they're definitely eating the right feed, getting the correct supplements or medications they might need, and it also means that they're in a nice contained area or space for me to do anything like rug changes, check each horse over for injuries or anything that might need doing that's extra. Sometimes there's medical treatments such as eye drops or bandage changes, for example. This is Derek, one of the Highland ponies, who has equine asthma or COPD. So he has a nebulizer every morning. He is very used to the nebulizer because he's had it every day for many years, even before he came to AVL. So we know that we can trust him to leave it on without him damaging it because it is an expensive bit of kit. The nebulizer just ensures that he is inhaling the medication directly into his lungs, which helps to reduce inflammation and keep his airways clear. Mondays and Thursdays are feet days, which means on these days me and Flynn do all of the full livery horses' hooves. This requires fully picking them out, scrubbing them with a wire brush to remove any debris and spraying them with either apple cider vinegar or a hoof spray. Apple cider vinegar mixed with water is great because it's antibacterial, antifungal and really cost effective when treating this many horses. Once the boys' herd is sorted, we then move over to our mixed herd and get them fed as well. So same principle, they are all sectioned off into an area with electric fence rope to eat their breakfasts. And same thing, we also check them all over for injury, do any rug changes or extra things that are required during this time. Just a little pan showing how happily and quietly they all just stand and eat their breakfasts. This is just a close-up of me doing the lovely mare Vita's feet while she tucks into her breakfast. Nice clean scrub, you can see all of that debris being removed that the hoof pick couldn't quite get. We use a wire brush in the spring and summer when their feet are really hard. And then again, giving it a good spray down with apple cider vinegar. This is our dishwasher and this is how he lets us know he's finished. Thank you, sir. Any of our horses that have grass time now go out onto the grass. At the moment, that is Vita, the warm blood, and Pepper, the thoroughbred. It's really interesting how the horses learn which horses get to go out on the grass and which ones don't. I can normally just open the gate and call and they will come and go straight out. But Pepper knew that I was recording a video today and wasn't playing ball and just stood looking at me for a while until she finally realised I was stood there with the gate open and went out to enjoy her day. Flynn started giving all the buckets a good clean out. I accidentally made her jump and then I sat down on Owen's bench to eat my breakfast. Miss Willow gets extra hay time in the barn after everyone's gone. She's an older lady. She's on Cushing's meds now and I think they make her weight drop off a bit. Her little friend is waiting. Isn't that nice? Yeah. Time check, it's now around 9 AM and it's time for me to put the horses' hay out. So if you are new to a track system, the idea of it is that you spread resources around to encourage movement. One of the main resources being the horse's main food source. Our horses are fed low sugar and starch mixed meadow hay. And we use small hold hay nets to promote trickle feeding, which is naturally how horses would eat, little and often. I think the reason that we get so many issues with equine obesity and laminitis, etc., is because horses aren't actually cut out for the grass that we have overseeded the majority of our lands with. Ryegrass and clover, grasses like this, were overseeded to promote better milk yields in cattle and beef growing, but neither of those things we want for our horses, which means they're too high in sugar, starch and calories and cause a lot of problems. One of the main ways that we can combat this is using hay instead of grass, because when it's cut, when it's at its latest stage in July and August, which means it is lower in sugar than rapidly growing spring grass. And unlike grass, it stays consistently at those levels all year round, so we know exactly what we're feeding and we know that it's safe for our horses. It also means that my paddocks in the middle of the track aren't overgrazed and I can carefully manage them and allow access to the horses that can have grass. We do this hay round twice a day and there's enough hay nets for every horse. So there's an AM round and then a PM round, which always encourages movement every time that we do it. And the horses also have a double netted round bale up the top on the corral that they have access to overnight, but we do shut access to that off during the day to make sure that they get out round the track. And it also means that it works as a backup option for when the hay nuts run out, which is what it is designed to be there for. Here they come. So all our hay nets are pre-tied up so that I can just put them in and clip them with a carabiner. A locking one, because you don't want a horse to bite it and get a lip or a nose caught in it, but so much quicker. So that is all the hay out for both herds, and as you can see, they all spread about. Some share, some eat on their own, but the way that it works is they're constantly moving on and moving each other on and continuously moving around the track. With the hay time done, it's now time to start the poo picking. So we fully poo pick the tracks once a day, and then in the afternoon/evening we do a quick round again of poo picking just around the main target areas. So this is around the barn and the bedding areas. I used to use shovels for poo picking, but I've actually found in recent years that I prefer a shavings fork, because any of the dust or sand or earth falls through and you just end up picking up the manure. They're also really super light and easy, and as you can see, we've got quite a knack for it. It takes around half an hour to poo pick each track, depending on the weather. This time of year is perfect because everything's bone dry, so it's literally just flicking up the lightest poos, but in the winter it can take a bit longer because everything's heavier and wet with the constant rain. Fun fact, I do on average around 20,000 steps a day just running the yard. All the poo picking, even doing the hay, doing the feeds, walking back and forth. It's amazing how much ground you can cover and how many steps you can do in a day, but it's great because it means we can eat lots of snacks. As much as this time of year is totally beautiful and I could never trade it for an office job, the winters can get really, really hard, even with the amount of weatherproofing that we've done. So it's really nice to have the nice weather once the spring comes. This video was filmed in April. Then we move on to doing the bedding areas. These actually take just as long as it takes to do the whole track, even though they're a much smaller area, because sifting the poo out of the bedding takes a lot longer. And me and Flynn are quite the perfectionists and like to level it all out and make it all flat and nice. Although that we do remove the manure off these beds twice a day, we do deep bed them, which means we let the urine sink through to the bottom and we only fully muck them out once or twice a year. Manure removal is really important for cleanliness and hygiene, but it's also super important for worm control. We do fecal egg counts here every 3 months and saliva tests every 6 months to make sure that we are on top of our worm burden, and we always come back with low or 0 results, which is great. Once we've finished mucking out, we use a leaf blower to blow any of the crumbs into a small pile, and then either we discard that, or if it's mainly bedding, we'll just pop it back on the beds. Just keeps everything really, really nice and clean, really tidy for us and the horses, although let's be honest, it's us that care more about the tidiness than the horses for sure. After we finish with the blower, Flynn just replenishes our water buffets using a bucket to top them up, and then we use a sieve or colander to remove any of the debris that might have blown in there or be sat on the top. The buffets are a great enrichment for the horses. It means that they can self-select certain herbs or minerals that they have on offer, and having them in water means it's easier for the body to absorb them. We tend to have on offer all the time salt water, sodium bicarbonate water, magnesium water, and apple cider vinegar water. All of these things have multiple different health benefits for the horses, but it's sort of done more as an enrichment opportunity for them to self-select as they please. I've done plenty of reels and videos about this with more information if you are interested. Now it is time to empty the muck collected. Yes, that is all just the poo from that morning. This trailer is really, really cool, and it's a self-tipping trailer. So I firstly got to remove all the tools, undo the door at the back, and then I go back round to the front and press the button, which makes it tip up in the air in order to remove all of the poo. So it's not as simple as it looks. There's actually quite a knack to getting the poo out. So once I've tipped the trailer up, I have to pull forward, reverse, and then slam the brakes on in order to get gravity to force it all out of the back. This often takes a few pulls forward and reverses, and sometimes it annoyingly falls out on the ramp like it just did there. but normally 3 or 4 attempts is enough to get it all out and onto the floor, ready for us to shovel up onto the pile. I think in real time this took us about 6 or 7 minutes, but sped up it looks like it takes no time at all. Again, in the summer, this is quite an easy job because the poo is nice and light. Don't get me wrong, it does get the cardio going, but that's good for all of us. But in the winter, when it's really, really wet and heavy, we do tend to get in our little multi-one compact loader to shove it back using a bucket and a machine because it's just too heavy and too much work. Anyone who's ever looked after horses will know that the only way to get a muck heap looking right is to actually get on it and to step it properly. Using your body weight to flatten it, using a pitchfork to spread it all out, it's the only way to make sure that it stays nice and flat and that you can keep getting poo up there. If you were to avoid this step and just chuck it all up, it would go into a complete slant and you wouldn't get hardly any muck up there at all, and it would be a total waste of money paying the farmer to come and empty it for you, which is what we do every month, because it would only get half the amount in there if I didn't do this method. On to the last job of the morning. It's now around 11:30 a.m. and we're both getting pretty hungry, but it's time to fill around 30 hay nets that we got in from this morning's hay rounds ready for the evening hay round. The hay nets that we use in the evening are double the size of the ones that go out in the day because obviously the nighttime stint is much longer than the daytime stint, the time between we put AM and PM hay out. So we tend to put the AM hay nets out around 9:30 in the morning, and then the evening ones go out between 4 and 4:30 PM. And it's really important that the horses don't go without food. Horses are designed to eat little and often constantly, and it's not actually advised for their stomachs to go empty for longer than 4 hours. So using small hole trickle feeder nets, make sure that they've got constant access to food without eating too much all at once and gaining weight. We use a mixture of double nets and single netted nets, and the majority of them are 1-inch or 25mm holes. But the different hay net styles also mean that certain hay nets are easier to eat from and certain hay nets are harder to eat from, depending on the netting size itself rather than just the hole size. The hay nets that we use are soft, knotless meshes because we don't like the abrasion of the thicker, knotted fishing style type netting that you can get in a lot of hay nets nowadays, and these ones are just as durable and just as strong, but equally soft and nice on the horse's teeth and lips when they are eating from them. It takes us around half an hour to 40 minutes to fill around 30 to 40 hay nets, so it tends to be a hay net a minute, which is pretty speedy. As I said earlier, we also pre-tie all the hay nets, so it's just a case of clipping them in or up into our hay stations when we put them out later, which also saves us a lot of time. Once the hay nets are filled, we stack them straight in the trailer so they are ready and waiting for the PM hay round. I then went to grab Sid, who is our compact mini loader, to put some more hay in the barn as we'd used it all up on the hay nets. We switched to wrapped hay back in 2022 when I did a lot of research into hay and dust and discovered that hay, often when it sits in storage unwrapped, it will absorb moisture from the air, which turns into dust, which is why a lot of hay is dusty. Wrapping it also preserves a lot of the quality, and it means it smells exactly the same as the day it was first baled. It also means that I can store it outside. I can now use this space in the barn for more things like rug storage, etc. Safi's on quality control. You watching me? Yeah. Vita's gone to bed. Oh yeah, I forgot to say that we grabbed Pepper and Vita in once we'd finished the hay nets from their grass time, and they then were enjoying a lovely snooze. That concludes our morning. Here are some of our horses enjoying the sandpit later on that afternoon. I hope you enjoyed spending a morning with us on a typical day at Abbotts Livery, and I look forward to showing you more videos of our life here. Please like the video, leave a comment with any feedback, and subscribe to follow us for our next upcoming videos. Thank you for watching!